We all feel terrible for Tyrese Haliburton. Every single person, Knick fan, non-Knick fan, doesn't matter. When we saw him go down last night, you knew exactly what it was. It was going to be a torn Achilles. We all felt horrible. All right? We got it out of our system. Now let's talk real. The New York Knicks roadmap to getting to the NBA Finals next year continues to get cleared. Whether it was Jayson Tatum going down in the midst of the Knicks-Celtics series, whether it's now Tyrese Haliburton, the engine of the Eastern Conference champion Indiana Pacers going down. I know they don't have a coach, but no matter who they hire in the next few weeks, the New York Knicks are going to go into next season not as a lock to make the NBA Finals, but Tiki, the road continues to be cleared.
Yeah, it's hard to like take victory in your offseason when you haven't really done anything. You don't necessarily have the resources, meaning draft picks, to do anything and to bring in another superstar. Yet you're going to go into next season as likely the favorite in the East because of the guys that have gotten hurt. And again, you talk about Tyrese Haliburton and prayers to him and a healthy, quick recovery, but we know it's at least a year. He's going to miss all of next season, just like Jayson Tatum is going to miss all of next season. And right now, you look at the teams that potentially stand in the Knicks' way, there's not a ton of them other than Cleveland. And if Cleveland is good like they were this year, or are they kind of just middling like they were a year ago, like the Knicks could be the team. It doesn't even matter necessarily who the head coach is. It's just the fact that they have the stars where all these other teams that were above them have lost their stars.
No question. And a lot can happen between June 23rd and next May, obviously.
Yes.
The injuries that have hit other teams in the Eastern Conference could very well hit the Knicks. We all understand that. But I'm just saying, as you sit here right now, a few days before the NBA draft, a week before NBA free agency, still without a head coach, no one wants to celebrate the injury to Tyrese Haliburton. No one's celebrating it. We're just calling it like it is. We're just looking around, calling balls and strikes. And the truth is, the Knicks' chances of getting to an NBA Finals have greatly increased over the last month. It's just a reality. And look, I can build up other Eastern Conference teams. Like the Orlando Magic took a big swing.
Yep.
They went out and they traded for Desmond Bane, and they are better. And Banchero should be healthy next year after missing a lot of time last year. Plus, they've gained even more experience. So I'm not just dismissing the Orlando Magic. I'm not dismissing the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are probably having the same discussions in the city of Cleveland today. So there's competition.
Right.
But if you're a Knicks fan and you look around, the scariest things to you have been the Indiana Pacers and the Boston Celtics. And the truth is, neither of those teams are competing for a championship next year.
No, you're right. Maybe the Detroit Pistons you throw in there as well, simply because of how gritty they are. But Orlando, as good as they were a 500 team last year, 10 games behind the New York Knicks.
They dealt with a lot of injuries. And of course that's the wild card to all of this.
Right. But still, they're a team that's on the come potentially, but not there. The Knicks are there, right? They were every year advancing to the next stage, to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. And now their foe, their nemesis over the last two, are likely going to be compromised. Now, maybe they rebound and find some way to get as good as in spite of the Tyrese Haliburton injury, but we don't know that. So if you're a Knicks fan right now, and it's hard to, right, because the season just ended, the Oklahoma City Thunder are hosting the Larry O'Brien Trophy. They're the champion. Shea is the greatest player in basketball right now. But if you can just look past what's distracting you and think about next season, the Knicks are in good shape.
Well, the Knicks, in my opinion, and I've been watching basketball since the early 1990s, so you can mix in Michael Jordan's retirement as a part of this discussion. This, to me, will be the most hyped up, believable championship season that the Knicks have ever gone into in my life.
But
there is no but. What's the but? They don't have a head coach?
It depends on who they hire as their head coach.
We're all going to have...
They can't just go hire some guy, right, and just say, "Hey, yeah, we'll figure it out. We have the talent. Our players will manage themselves, and the coach will figure it out as he goes along." That's not going to work.
Of course, that is
not going to work. Johnny Bryant, who has no experience, hey, yeah, he'll figure it out as he goes. You can't have a learning on the job head coach.
But even if they did go Johnny Bryant, I've seen teams win a championship with a first-time head coach. I've seen it. It's not impossible. Nick Nurse did it with the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, but Nick Nurse was there.
But so Johnny Bryant was there. He wasn't there this past season. He was there the year before that. Like, obviously, we all have different opinions on who they should hire. But once the smoke is cleared, whether it's Mike Brown, whether it's Taylor Jenkins, whether it is Johnny Bryant, once we kind of get used to whoever the hell this head coach is, the Knicks are going to go into next season. Doesn't matter what they do with this roster, though there are important little moves they need to make to fortify the bench.
Yeah.
You're going to go in with greater championship aspirations than you've ever had. That's just a reality.
I know.
And it's a reality that right now, a year out, feels like the clearest road we've ever seen, because sometimes winning a championship or getting to an NBA Finals isn't the best team you've ever seen. It's the best roadmap you've ever seen. Listen, I'm a fan of a team that got to back-to-back NBA Finals. It's been a long time. Mm-hmm. I will admit to you with a smile on my face that was not the heyday of the Eastern Conference. They didn't go through Michael Jordan's Bulls. Okay, they went through Antoine Walker and Paul Pierce's Celtics.
Right.
And they went through the early stages of a young Detroit team. You know how much I give a rat's ass that they didn't go through great teams?
None.
You think the Thunder care?
Because nobody's going to remember that. Nobody cares.
Of course. Even the modern NBA we're living in. We've seen 7 different champions in 7 different years, and you could argue this is the greatest route of mediocrity we've ever seen as a basketball fan.
Call it parity.
Competitive balance?
Parity.
You can phrase it however you want.
I could say, OKC wasn't mediocre. They won 84 games, which is not very many teams do that, including the postseason.
It's not about them being mediocre. It's look at the teams.
Oh, the opponents. I see you. I hear you.
Even Boston last year.
Right.
We heard the same thing, and you don't throw anything back. Mm-hmm. Like the Celtics won a title last year. The Thunder just won an NBA championship. Congratulations. If the Knicks go through a roadmap of Eastern Conference teams that have all lost their star player to injuries, it doesn't take anything away from it.
No.
The road is as open as I've ever seen, and I don't think anyone should have celebrated last night. I don't think anybody did. I think it's more when you wake up on a Monday morning and you talk to your friends at work and you're like, hey, did you see Game 7 last night? And everyone's like, yeah, that was anticlimactic, which it was.
It was.
It was the most.
Well, the second half was anticlimactic.
As soon as he went down, bro. I've never seen anything like it.
It was basically a tie game at half. So they fought until halftime.
It's not about the score, though. Mm-hmm. Like, it was, you're right. So Tyrese goes down. We all kind of know what's happening. It's like when Rodgers went down. You try to talk yourself out of it. You know the deal.
Same thing with Tatum. When he went down, you knew it immediately.
You knew it. Yes, it was a competitive game. Yes, Indiana, I think it opened up a 5-point lead at one point after Haliburton went down. But the game was played with a cloud over it that was really tough to explain. And even when the Thunder held on, because it did get somewhat dicey in the final few minutes when the Pacers went on that 9-1 run to make it interesting, even when they won the NBA title, they walked off the floor like they won a regular season game. And even I'm like, all right, I don't know if I'm going to stick around and watch the postgame. I'm going to go do a Rico. Like, it was the oddest Game 7 conclusion I have ever seen in my lifetime, whether you want to include baseball or basketball.
Yeah, it should have been epic, but it wasn't. It didn't feel it.
No, and I think the reason it didn't feel epic was because of Haliburton going down and everyone naturally either feeling really, really bad or looking at this Game 7 differently because the Pacers were without their best player.
Right.
So it was just a weird... weird. That's like the only word I can come up with.
I know.
It was strange watching the ending of this.
I hear you. But, look, congratulations to OKC, obviously. But it's weird because you want to say you got a championship. No matter what happens, you got your championship. You got a ring. No one can ever take it away from you. 30, 50, 100 years from now, when people go back and look at the history of sports, they'll say, oh, that 2025 Oklahoma City Thunder team, they won the championship. Great. But they all feel different relative to what happened. And we've heard this multiple times. I know Shaun had this with J.R. Smith over the weekend, him and Tommy, when we were talking about the 2020 championship with the Lakers. They're like, yeah, that one didn't really count. It counted, right? 50 years from now, you're going to look and say, oh, the Lakers won the championship in 2020. But this one it's going to be the same. It's not going to feel right, but it still counts as a championship.
Well, I think
that's really, the circumstances don't matter. The only thing that matters is that you got the victory.
Of course.
And you got the ring.
Title's a title.
I agree with you. This one has like a little, like something to it.
It's not that it takes anything away from the Thunder winning a title. Much like the Raptors winning the title in 19. Nothing took away Toronto winning the title, despite Durant getting hurt and Klay Thompson being banged up. It was more sitting there on a Sunday night. And I assume most of America, even in New York, where everyone was so bitter about the Knicks losing, I would think that the Knicks fan tuned into Game 7. even for 10 minutes, because it's Game 7.
Right.
Like, even if you weren't interested in the series, you weren't invested in the series, there is something magical about a Game 7.
Yeah.
And so we haven't had one in 8 years, 9 years. And so I think you tuned it in out of curiosity.
Yeah, and then the first half gave you everything you wanted.
It was entertaining. I just think the game itself was weird. The championship? No. When I sit here 2 years from now and mention the Thunder winning a title, it's completely legitimate. It was just sitting there last night. There was a cloud just hanging over. And it was weird, and it wasn't enjoyable. But the reality is this. After you let that cloud hover for a little bit, and we all go back to being the selfish basketball fans we are, like in my case, daydreaming and watching YouTube videos of Ace Bailey, and you guys go back, really 99% of the rest of the city goes back to thinking about the Knicks, whether your coach is Mike Brown or Taylor Jenkins or Johnny Bryant, you look at the Eastern Conference, and the only thing you were scared of as a Knicks fan was the Indiana Pacers. Right. How do we beat the Pacers? We built a team to beat the Celtics. We did that. How do we beat the Pacers? Well, all of a sudden, you go into the offseason, and you're no longer fearful of that. Now it's, hey, can we beat Cleveland? And most Knicks fans are going to be like, yeah, sure we can. We smoked them a few years ago. They're soft as cheese. Can we beat the Bucks since Giannis wants to stay there? Sure. Dame's not walking through that door. What do they have
and
after
even if
Giannis?
He does, he's 40.
Right. Can we beat the Orlando Magic? And I think the arrogance will be, let them prove something.
Right.
Sure, they got a lot of young talent. Let's prove it. Detroit, same thing. So if you're a Knicks fan, you're on cloud 9. Am I right, Tommy? You're on cloud 9. I can see with that stupid smile on your face.
I'm on cloud. Is there a cloud 15? Put me on cloud 15. When Haliburton went down, obviously, I was like everybody else. That sucks. That's a bummer, especially with the way he reacted. It reminded me of KD. It reminded me of Tatum. Tatum, obviously, a little more closer to home because they're playing the Knicks. But when KD went down with the Achilles, you just feel for the guy. I'm not going to lie. Within like 6 seconds, I was texting my friends. I don't want to say anything publicly because I think it makes you a bad guy, but I was texting everybody. We're the favorites next year to go to the East.
Right.
It's Knicks in 26. You could take it to the bank. You can't, celebrate an injury, but guess what? I root for the Knicks. And I worry about the Knicks, and I'm sure the Pacer fan didn't care if somebody got hurt on my team. You got to think about your own basketball team. You send your prayers and your thoughts to the player, and then you worry about what the Knicks are going through. They're going to hire a coach, I think, unless they go through a committee. I have no idea. But if that's all we're worried about as a head coach, I, as a Knicks fan, am more concerned with a team like Detroit or Orlando.
Sure.
Becoming the next Indiana.
Maybe.
That's where my concerns would be. But at the same time, I think the Knicks are only going to get better, too. And they aren't the betting favorite, but they should be. The Knicks are, in my opinion, the odds-on favorite to get out of the East.
Let's have some fun, why don't we?
Yeah.
We did this right after the Super Bowl, so why don't we do it on Monday, June 23rd at 2:14 p.m.? And, of course, we'll get your calls coming up at 888-808-1019. And as a diehard basketball fan, something did hit me last night that needs to change immediately. We'll get to that in the next 15 minutes. But let's have some fun. What will be the NBA Finals in 2026? Let's make a long-term, year-out prediction. Next year, the NBA Finals. Obviously, we have a draft in a few days.
Yep.
We have an offseason that really begins on June 30th. There could be crazy changes. So I get it. It's risky. But we did this right after the Super Bowl. I already forgot who we all picked, but we saved it. Don't worry. We'll go back to it in February of 2026. So let's do this for basketball. And let's start with Tommy Lugauer since he's on cloud 9 and since his prediction is probably the most predictable. Tommy, the NBA Finals in 2026, a year out, will be...
The Knicks will face Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets in the finals. Knicks in 26, I feel like Shaun now, getting the revenge all these years later on the city of Houston, on the Rockets, on Kevin Durant. The Knicks will defeat the Houston Rockets in Game 7.
Oh, I like that prediction. I love the full circleness of the revenge of 1994. Like, it's perfect. I like that. So he's going Knicks Rockets. Shaun Morash, a year out. Today's date is June 23rd, 2025. The 2026, assuming there is an NBA Finals next year. I mean, the world could be over. Sure. But assuming that everything still exists and there is a Finals, who will participate?
Luka Doncic and the Los Angeles Lakers will beat the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Lakers, Cavs. LeBron against the Cavs.
Bingo.
Did you forget about that aspect of it?
I absolutely did, but now it's there.
All right. I forgot. Tiki Barber. Next year's NBA Finals will be.
I'm going to say that the Cleveland Cavaliers will beat the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Wow. I know what that's about. He saw his buddy A-Rod last week. He owns the T-Wolves. You had a nice conversation, gave each other a hug, and you're like, you know what? I haven't made a homer pick in a while. I usually do that for football. I'm going to make it for the T-Wolves. All right, so Cleveland, Minnesota.
Hopefully by then he'll actually own the team and not just be a minority investor.
So I was leaning towards Cleveland because I looked at this year as the learning experience, the humbling experience.
And they have a great coach. It's hard to discount that.
They have a wonderful head coach.
Right.
But I question, as much as I love Donovan Mitchell, can Donovan Mitchell be the best player on a championship team?
Yeah.
I wonder.
Double small guards, too, as well.
Now, as you know, there's no way I'm going to pick the Knicks here. That's Tommy's thing. He'll do it. I ain't picking the Knicks. The question is, with Tyrese Haliburton out, with Jayson Tatum out, who the hell am I going to plant my flag with? So I have decided that the 2026 NBA Finals, and I can't believe none of you guys said the Thunder. They literally just won the NBA championship. And Tiki said Minnesota out of the West. Shaun said the Lakers, and Tommy said the Rockets.
Well, that's because they're the shortest odds. They're not making any money on the Thunder.
I'm picking the Thunder.
You're smart.
And Adam Silver is going to wake up in a cold sweat when he hears my NBA Finals.
Don't say the Nets.
You think the ratings sucked for Thunder Pacers? I'll one up you a little bit. I'm not picking the Nets. What kind of homer do you think I am?
I mean, a bad one if you were going to do that.
How would I even argue that?
But you couldn't.
Like Ace Bailey?
Ace Bailey. Dylan Harper.
The Nets still in the league.
To you as well.
The Oklahoma City Thunder will win their second consecutive NBA championship, and they will defeat the Orlando Magic.
Now that's a Mickey Mouse championship.
Yeah. So the problem is, I see what you're saying about the OKC because they're the best team right now, clearly, even though they struggled at times with the Indiana Pacers.
They're also loaded with draft picks to get even better.
Of course they are.
Yes.
But there has not been a repeat champion in 7 years.
I am aware.
It's like something is, I don't know if this is intentional. I can't call conspiracy on this, but it hasn't been like this in a long time.
It's never been like this to me in my lifetime in the NBA. The NBA has always been a dynasty followed by another dynasty.
No doubt. Maybe there's a year or so in between, and then there comes the next dynasty. It's been 7 years since we've had a repeat offender.
Yes.
So I can't, a repeat offender, a repeat champion. So I can't see it only because we haven't seen it. It's just a new trend in the NBA.
Well, we have saved these. We have filed them away. And next June of 2026, we'll see how close we were. We'll get your calls coming up. It sucked. It was a cloud over a Game 7. But the New York Knicks' chances of winning an NBA championship grew last night, and you didn't even do anything. 888-808-1019. Plus, we'll check in on our finals predictions for this year. And the Kevin Durant trade heard around the world. But more importantly, these injuries have proven something major that the NBA needs to change. And we'll address that when we come back.